She moans even while asleep. For 26 years, I lived like a woman without a body, until the night a man the world despised made me moan for pleasure, for fulfillment, even in my sleep. That is my story. And tonight, I will tell it all. My name is Clarissa Johnson. I am 46 years old, and for as long as I can remember, my greatest ambition was not just to survive, but to make a name so loud it would echo in the corridors of power. I worked my way into the House of Lords in Washington, D.C., not by privilege, but by sheer persistence. I wanted respect, I wanted position, but above all, I wanted love. And love, true love, my dear, is what life denied me. At 20, I married Daniel Clark, a sweet-talking accountant with a smile that could melt a woman's guard. But behind that smile was a hunger my body could not feed. I remember the first night, the look in his eyes as confusion turned into frustration. "Why do you stiffen like a corpse, Clarissa?" he asked, his voice trembling between concern and anger. I told him about the pain, but he mistook it for rejection. We kept trying, but it seems like he wasn't just touching the right places. 6 months into the marriage, we went to the hospital to do some checkup concerning my pains and stiffness, and the doctor found nothing. He assured us that we were okay and that we should give it time. He screamed, he raged, and shouted, "Give it time." He walked out. 2 years later, he found comfort in the arms of his secretary. He left without goodbye. Our marriage ended in silence and pain, but I moved on. When I met Victor Harrison, my second husband, I thought God had sent me redemption. He was a TV host, confident, charismatic, with words so smooth you would think he could sell the rain to the ocean. He promised me patience, he promised me understanding. But promises, I learned, can rot faster than fruit. I told him about my past marriage, about my struggles, and about my pain. I thought, I have found peace, assurance, and one who would bear my pain with me. When our bedroom became a desert, instead of sheltering me, he made me a spectacle. One morning, I turned on his live broadcast and froze. There he was, my husband, telling the nation that he had married a woman without passion. The studio laughed. The phone lines rang with callers mocking me. That day, I died a little inside. Divorce papers followed, but the shame never left. From then on, I stopped watching TV altogether. By the time I married Stephen Monroe, my heart was already a battlefield. He was calm, gentle-spoken, a history lecturer with glasses that made him look harmless. He told me he would never pressure me, and I wanted to believe him. I did believe him, until the whispers began. 12 months later, he was already fed up with our bedroom war, with the I cry in pain, not pleasure, during lovemaking. He was already irritated by the way I ran out naked from the room in fear when his hands touches me. And suddenly he went cold. To my surprise, he didn't make an attempt anymore. We were cool, all happy and in peace, but without sex, and it seems abnormal to me, even though it felt like I had peace a little bit. My neighbor, Mrs. Douglas, first hinted. Then my colleague at work mentioned seeing Stephen too often with my young lady sister, beautiful with a laugh that turned men's heads in restaurants. I brushed it off as gossip. I felt safe. Supposed to be safe, shouldn't I? I defended him, but truth has a way of clawing its way into the open. But the night of betrayal came, a night that shattered me and broke me into pieces that cannot be found. Rainy night I will never forget. It was a rainy Thursday night. Drake times are when the rumors become reality. I returned home early from work, tired but relieved to finally rest. As I entered the house, rushing at least to be cuddled in my husband's arms in a rainy night. On opening the door, I heard it, a laugh, low, breathless, intimate. My heart pounded. I climbed the stairs silently, each step heavy as if the house itself was warning me to turn back. When I opened the bedroom door, the sight burned my eyes. Stephen, the man who swore to honor me, was in my bed, naked under my sheet, under my roof with Melanie, my own blood, my younger sister. their bodies tangled, their moans shameless. Melanie's eyes met mine first, wide with shock, then defiant. Stephen scrambled, muttering excuses that dissolved in the air. I stood frozen, my chest rising and falling, not with tears, but with a rage so deep I thought it would tear my veins open. I didn't scream, I didn't fight. I walked out and shut the door. That silence was louder than any outburst, and from that moment I knew men would betray me and women, even my sister, would steal from me. After that night, I buried love. I buried my body. Melanie left and never returned, and if she did, it will never be to me as a sister again. I poured myself into work, into power, into making my name respected so no man could ever use my weakness as a weapon again. People called me strong, but strength, my dear, is often just another name for loneliness. Yes, you heard me right. Oh, don't get your eyes puffed off. I used to be there, so I know exactly what I'm saying to you, my love. For 26 years, my life was a desert without touch, without passion I never had sex for. 26 years as a woman, you can imagine how that feels. The lonely, cold nights, the unquenchable desires that only a man can quench. The companionship, the dirty talks between lovers, the kisses, the cuddles, don't mind me. I never felt it for once, but I always imagined it. And you know, imagination, they say, is sweet, far more sweeter than our reality. I moan in my imagination for pleasure. But opening my eyes to see my reality as a 3 times divorcee and one who has never enjoyed intimacy or true love all her life. And it hurts so badly. Friends told me to try again, to heal. But how do you heal from a wound that never closes? I convinced myself I didn't need men. I convinced myself I didn't need intimacy. Until I met him, the man who sold newspapers on Richmond Street. A man the world saw as lowly, but who carried a fire in his eyes I had never seen before. A fire that would one day make me moan in my sleep. His name was Ethan Carter. He was 34, much younger than me, with an energy that made the morning sun look lazy. Every day on my way to the House of Lords, I passed by Richmond Street, and there he was, his hands blackened with ink, shouting headlines with a voice that carried hope. I told myself he was just a street seller. Yet something about the way he laughed with strangers, the way his eyes sparkled even when rain soaked his clothes, made me pause. Men of status had broken me, but this man in his worn-out jacket and crooked smile made me curious again. For the first time in years, my body stirred, not in pain, but in wonder. I would go to buy papers I don't need just to see his face every single day. And whenever I reached out his hands to give me papers, I feel a tinkling sensation down my spine, something I have never felt before for any man, alive or dead. One morning, I did the unthinkable. I stopped, bought a paper, and looked into his eyes. "Do you need extra work?" I asked. He blinked, surprised. "Cleaning, maybe." In my home. That evening, Ethan walked into my mansion as my cleaner. My friends would have mocked me if they knew. A woman of my standing hiring a newspaper seller for housework? But I didn't care. I wanted him near. I wanted to see if the fire in his eyes was real or if it was just the reflection of my own loneliness. Ethan worked with humility, humming as he swept floors and polished tables, but I wasn't watching his broom, I was watching him. The curve of his neck, the way his muscles flexed under his shirt, the scent of sweat that was strangely honest. At night, I found myself thinking about him, imagining his hands not on my furniture but on my skin. I felt ashamed. What kind of woman of status desires her cleaner? Yet my shame was weaker than my hunger. Every time he looked at me and smiled, something melted inside me that had been frozen for decades. It happened one Saturday evening. I was in the study pretending to read, but in real sense, the woman in me needed a man so much to touch her. When Ethan entered with a tray of tea, our hands brushed as he handed me the cup, and I flinched, not from pain, but from a heat that shot straight through me. "Are you all right, ma'am?" he asked softly. "I haven't been all right in 26 years. "I want you," I whispered, surprising even myself. His eyes lingered on me, and in them I saw no pity, no judgment, just desire. It was the first time in my life that a man's touch didn't make me recoil. For the first time I wanted more. I want ready to make real love at 46 years. For the first time I felt like I was in my prime, because Ethan made it so. That night everything changed. I had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted, when I felt him cover me with a blanket. His hand brushed my arm, and something deep in me broke free. My body, for the first time, responded without fear. I stirred, murmured his name, and when his lips touched mine, a moan escaped me, not of pain, but of pleasure. I woke up gasping, trembling, my heart racing. Ethan looked at me with wide eyes, unsure if he had crossed a line. But I took his hand, placed it on my left breast softly, and whispered, "Don't stop." That night, for the first time in 26 years, I moaned like a woman who had finally found herself. After that unforgettable night, I loved it. He loved it, and was surprised too that a lady or my caliber and status will give in to him. It didn't end that day. We made love, sweet love, every other day, every other night, in hidden and open places. I was unashamed. I felt like I have the freedom I never had. For 46 years, I moaned all night long. At last, I said to myself, I can finally moan. Something I have never done all my life. When the moans began, so did the whispers. My colleagues noticed a glow on my face, the kind that no political achievement could give. One afternoon in the cafeteria of the House of Lords, my friend Margaret leaned across the table and asked, "Who is he?" Her eyes were sharp, suspicious. I laughed it off, but word spreads faster than wildfire in high places. Soon, they knew. They knew I was keeping company with Ethan Carter, my cleaner, a newspaper seller from Richmond Street. Some called it reckless, others called it disgusting. "A woman like you deserves better," one of the ministers said. "Do you know what people will think if you keep him?" But the truth was, I didn't care what people thought. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living for their expectations. I was living for myself. And what I had with Ethan was something no man of wealth or class had ever given me. Peace, wrapped in desire. Yet deep down, I knew the storm was only beginning. It wasn't long before the whispers reached my family. My elder brother, a bishop, came to my house with two of my cousins. They sat in my living room, faces stern, voices heavy. "Clarissa," my brother began, "we've tolerated your divorces. We've prayed for your healing. But this thing with your cleaner is an embarrassment to the family." I wanted to scream. They called my 3 failed marriages tolerable, but now that I had found joy, they called it shame. My cousin Lisa sneered, "How can you, a woman of power, reduce yourself to the arms of a man who sweeps your floors?" I stood tall, my voice steady. Because when he touches me, I feel alive. When he holds me, I don't feel cursed. For the first time, I'm not broken. They demanded I end it or risk losing their support. But my choice was already made. I would not trade peace for approval, not again. The society that once applauded my strength now mocked me. Newspapers wrote headlines like, "House of Lords official falls for street seller and from power to poverty. Clarissa's shameful love story." Everywhere I went, eyes followed me. Some women whispered in pity, others in jealousy. Men looked at me with disgust, as though I had betrayed their unwritten rule, that a woman of status should always aim higher, never lower. Ethan noticed the stares, the whispers, but he never faltered. He kept sweeping my floors, polishing my tables, and kissing me when no one was watching. At night, when I lay in his arms, I realized that society's judgment could not reach my bed. But the question haunted me. How long can love survive when the world is set on destroying it? One evening I sat Ethan down. "You can leave if this pressure is too much," I told him. His eyes softened and he shook his head. "Clarissa, I've lived my whole life being underestimated. Selling papers taught me that dignity is not in what you do, but how you do it. If you can face the world with me, then I'll never let go of your hand." Tears stung my eyes. For 26 years, men left me because of what I could not give. But here was a man willing to stay because of what I finally had. The courage to moan, the courage to love. That night when he held me, I realized love was not about class, wealth, or approval. It was about finding someone who made you safe enough to surrender. In Ethan's arms, I learned that pleasure is not just a physical act. It is trust, surrender, and acceptance. For decades, I thought my body was broken, cursed. But it was never broken. It was simply waiting for the right touch, the right soul, the right timing. To women who feel trapped in silence, I say this: your body is not your enemy. Your desires are not sins. And love does not always come dressed in the clothes society expects. But I also learned something else: that peace sometimes requires lowering your guard, even lowering your pride. I, Clarissa Monroe, a woman of high standing, found my freedom in the arms of a man society mocked. And I do not regret it. Even as our love grew, Ethan never stopped being my cleaner. I asked him once why he didn't quit the job, why he didn't allow me to elevate him. He smiled and said, "Because if I stop being your cleaner, I stop being your shield. The world expects me to climb into your status, and then they'll say I used you. But as long as I remain your cleaner, they'll know it's you who chose me." His words stunned me. I realized then that he understood me more than anyone ever had. I had chosen him, not because of what he had, but because of what he lacked. The arrogance of power, the intoxication of status. I wanted safety and humility. Ethan gave me that, and so I confess this story to you, not to defend myself, but to remind you that love is rarely logical. For 26 years, I lived without passion. I lost 3 husbands, my dignity, even my sister's loyalty. But in the arms of a man who sold newspapers and scrubbed my floors, I found what the world told me I would never have: peace, desire, and freedom. I'm not after having kids, I am after making love and making myself happy, which is what I'm doing now. Some will argue I degraded myself. Others will argue I was brave. But one truth remains: class does not protect you from loneliness, and status does not guarantee love. I chose Ethan, and Ethan chose me, not as a lady of power, but as a woman who moaned in her sleep for the very first time. And in that moan, I found the sound of my resurrection. Do you think I did the right thing? And even if you don't think so, I know I did what's right for me. The end. The story is brought to you by Forges, written by Favor 00.